Hey guys, tonight we journey to the edge of light and shadow. You're in a field that feels like it's been plucked from a dream soft grass underfoot. Blossoms that smell like candy and warm sunlight on your face. Birds are doing their best indie band impressions, and bees are busier than your email inbox on a Monday morning. You're not in a rush. You don't even notice the chill creeping in around the edges. You probably should, because beneath that perfect spring day, something ancient is stirring. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me in the comments, where in the world are you listening from? And what time is it for you right now? Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stretch, arms high above your head, sun kissing your skin. The meadow around you ripples like the surface of a golden pond, a sea of wildflowers with petals brighter than any Instagram filter. You twirl a little, just because you can. The world feels kind, like a mother's touch. There's a lazy butterfly flitting past your nose. You smile. You don't know you're being watched. Down beneath your feet, deeper than roots dare to grow, Hades waits. Not with snarling teeth or cartoonish horns, but with quiet, calculating patience. You wouldn't expect the god of the dead to have such immaculate timing, or a golden chariot. But he does. And right now, he's watching you the way someone watches the last cookie in the jar, undecided whether to grab it or wait for everyone to leave the room. Above ground, the air is warm. You kneel to pick a narcissus flower, delicate and pale, with a scent so sweet it makes you dizzy. Funny how it's just this one flower that feels heavier, like it's holding its breath. You tug at it, and that's when the ground cracks. No warning, no rumble. Just a tearing noise like parchment splitting down the middle, and suddenly, boom, a chasm yawns open beneath you. The earth shudders like it's sneezing, and a chariot, pulled by 4 coal-black horses, thunders up from the dark. Their hooves spark fire, their eyes glow like embers in a fireplace you're not sure is entirely friendly. You don't even have time to scream. Hades doesn't say much. He doesn't need to. He locks eyes with you, his gaze colder than the bottom drawer of your freezer. He reaches out, not roughly, but firmly, like someone picking up something already theirs. And just like that, you're gone. Now, to be fair, abduction was kind of trendy in mythology. Paris did it. Zeus basically invented it. But Hades, he adds a certain finesse. There's no storm, no divine lightning bolt, just silence and a meadow that heals over as if nothing ever happened. Back up top, birds resumed singing. Bees buzz like nothing's wrong, but the breeze carries a whisper. Someone is missing. Meanwhile, down in the underworld, your fall ends not in fire or fury, but in velvet. The palace is vast columns carved from obsidian, walls lit with a glow that doesn't come from torches. The air is cool, but not unpleasant, like the inside of a cave that's learned to appreciate fine drapery. Everything feels a little too clean, a little too perfect. Like Hades has been preparing this place for a while. Fun fact: ancient Greeks believed the underworld wasn't just a land of punishment. It had suburbs, Elysium for the heroes, the fields of asphodel for average Joes, and the nasty bits like Tartarus for the worst. But the palace? This is high-end real estate. 5 out of 5 skulls on Yelp. You're still shaking. Barefoot on marble. You want to scream, to demand answers, to run, but your legs don't move. Your voice is swallowed by the quiet, like yelling into a snowstorm. Then you see him again. Hades, taller than you expected, Not cruel looking, just ancient. Tired, maybe. As if he's lived so long even joy takes effort. His crown is simple, his robes shadowy and regal. No flaming pitchfork, no devilish grin. He looks at you the way someone looks at the moon-distant admiration, edged with longing. He doesn't apologize. He just says, "Welcome, Persephone." Others believe she chose to stay. But one eccentric theory offered by a 19th century Belgian philosopher with an inexplicable love of bees suggests the entire myth is an ancient metaphor for fermentation. Yes, really, the goddess goes underground, changes, and returns transformed like grapes into wine. Speaking of transformations, the moment you enter the underworld, something in you shifts, just slightly, like a note plucked on a harp string. The air smells faintly of smoke and crushed violets. Somewhere, a lyre plays a tune that feels familiar, though you've never heard it before. You're shown to a room. It's absurdly lovely. Silk cushions. A mirror that reflects dreams, not just faces. And a wardrobe full of gowns that shimmer like moonlight caught in water. This is no dungeon. It's a throne room waiting for its queen. Still, you sit on the edge of the bed, unsure whether to cry or scream. Instead, you whisper your mother's name, Demeter, and far above, in a cottage surrounded by golden wheat and fresh-baked bread, your mother drops her teacup. She knows. You'd think the underworld would be all fire pits and screaming souls, but honestly, it's quiet. Unnervingly so. You wake slowly, wrapped in satin sheets, not chains. The ceiling above you is a dome painted with constellations, accurate ones. 2. Though you're pretty sure one of them looks suspiciously like a baguette. You sit up. Your heart is still racing. A drumbeat of what just happened. What comes next? But the air down here doesn't feel threatening. It feels still, as if time got tired and decided to nap for a bit. Outside your chamber, a hallway stretches endlessly in both directions. You pick one because doing nothing feels worse. The marble is cool under your bare feet. As you walk, sconces flicker to life, one by one, sensing your presence. The light is soft, golden not the harsh glare of torches, but more like candlelight filtered through fog. It smells faintly of myrrh and something spicier, maybe saffron. Hades definitely sprung for the high-end incense. You pause in front of a mural etched into obsidian. It's you, or someone who will be you, crowned, arms open, surrounded by vines and stars and shadows. No pressure. Behind you, a voice says, "You're safe here," their face obscured by a hood. "I'm Macaria," she says, "daughter of Hades, goddess of peaceful death." She offers a small, hesitant smile. You looked like you could use a friend, even embroidered into tapestries. Subtle, Hades is not. You reach a balcony and step outside. The sky isn't black, it's deep violet, streaked with silver. Stars burn closer here, like they're peeking in to see how you're doing. Below is the river Styx, curling through the landscape like a ribbon of ink. You can just make out Charon's ferry, docked for now. Apparently even death has lunch breaks. Macaria talks as you walk. Her voice is soft, a bit sing-songy, like she's always half-humming. "My father doesn't bring people here often," she says, "especially not the living." She pauses. "Especially not like this. About Cerberus, the three-headed pupper guarding the gates?" You ask if you can pet him. She laughs and says only if you bring him snacks, preferably ghosts. Macaria leaves you at a garden. Yes, a garden. In the underworld, it's not full of dead things. It's full of silver leaves, glowing fruit, and flowers that bloom in reverse closing as you touch them. A cool mist curls at your ankles, and then you're not alone. Hades stands beside a tree bearing black roses. He's not looming. He's not smiling either, just present. You're adjusting, he says. You raise an eyebrow. You kidnapped me. He says it like he's looking at a blueprint that you can't read yet. Fun historical sidebar. Ancient Greeks believed the soul had three parts: psyche, thymus, and nous. Your psyche's probably having an existential crisis. Your thymus wants to fight, and your nous? Yeah, she's just trying to figure out what any of this means. You stare at him. And what now? This place is yours. If you want it, you may walk freely. You're not a prisoner. Of course, Hades doesn't touch you. He never tries. He just leaves the space open. You have questions. I'll answer what I can. But for now, rest. Trees drop their leaves like grief. Winter, the first true winter, is about to begin. And you? You sit beneath a tree in the land of the dead, wondering who you were before today, and who you're becoming now. And then you laugh, just a little, because a bat just dive-bombed your head like you're in a Tim Burton movie. Apparently, even the underworld has comedic timing. Later, much later, you're still awake. The palace has a pulse. Not like a heartbeat exactly, more like the low, rhythmic hum of something ancient and half asleep. You lie on a bed too large for one person, draped in velvet darker than ink, and stare up at constellations painted above you. Orion lounges smugly near your left eyebrow. He's always smug, even down here. You should be exhausted. You are exhausted, but your mind is louder than the silence. So you get up again. Macaria's instructions were vague wander, if you like. The palace listens, which sounds poetic until you realize it means the walls literally shift behind your back. You go left, then right, then down a spiral staircase that smells like cedar and forgotten tones. Somewhere in the distance, a harp plucks a lonely tune. Eventually, you find yourself in a vast library. And by vast, we mean vast. The ceiling disappears into shadows. Shelves curve like ribs around a heart. The scrolls here don't gather dust. They seem to breathe. Some even mutter. A tiny, hovering flame bobs toward you like a puppy made of candlelight. It leads you to a desk. No nameplate. Just a cup of ambrosia, surprisingly tasty like fig, and lightning, and a scroll that unrolls itself the moment you touch it. It's your name, but not just your name. It's your story written backwards. Each word flickers into ink as you scan the parchment, and as the letters form, you remember things you'd forgotten. The first time you made the earth bloom with just a whisper. The way birds would perch near you without fear. That weird time a snake bowed to you like you were royalty. Little things. Oh, you say quietly, oh no. Some think participants underwent symbolic death. Others claim they walked into Hades and came back changed. Whatever the truth, people risked exile and death just to know what you're living through now. You sit down at the desk. The scroll keeps writing. This time it shows images, scenes from the upper world. You see your mother, Demeter, pacing through storm-soaked fields, her hair wild, her hands clenched. She's talking to Helios, the sun god, demanding to know what he saw. He knows. Of course he knows. He sees everything. The scroll shifts again. Now it's Zeus, your father, technically. And boy, is that a family tree full of roots and rot. He looks uncomfortable, like someone caught between two angry co-workers who both brought swords to the meeting. Historians still debate whether Zeus allowed your abduction or merely looked the other way. A suspiciously convenient thunderstorm during your disappearance didn't help his case. You whisper, coward, and the flame flickers like it agrees. Behind you, someone coughs. You whirl around. It's not Macaria. It's another girl, slightly older than you. Black hair twisted into serpentine coils, eyes like sharpened steel. She's holding a book labeled "Don't Touch This One." So naturally, she's already halfway through it. "Persephone, right?" she says. "I'm Melanu, half-sister, goddess of nightmares and ghosts." It's whatever. Only some of us are insufferable. Between growth and rest, you're the reason the wheel turns. Without you, it all stops. Plants die, mortals despair, the seasons freeze. But others claim she ate them intentionally, that she chose to stay at least for part of the year. Scholars argue over it endlessly. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was power. Maybe it was rebellion. Melanu finishes the apple and tosses the core into the air. It vanishes before it lands. "Anyway," she says, turning toward the shadows, "don't let the drama get to you. We've all had our freak-out week. But you're stronger than you think. You're mind-buzzing. You're not just Persephone, daughter of Demeter. You're Persephone, the axis of the seasons, the link between sun and shadow, the girl with roots above and below. And the choice, terrifyingly, might be yours after all." The next morning, or at least what your body thinks is morning, you wake to the sound of someone humming. Not birdsong, not the rustle of leaves, just a slow, off-key tune echoing down the corridor, like a lullaby sung by someone who forgot the words halfway through. You sit up, rubbing your eyes. No sun through the windows, of course. No windows at all. Just a low shimmer of magic in the walls, glowing soft and golden like filtered honey. You follow the sound, dragging a shawl over your shoulders. The air is cooler today, like the underworld is trying on autumn. Hades must be in a mood. You find him in the garden. Yes, he has a garden. Who knew? It's not what you expect. No roses or neatly clipped hedges. The trees here are tall and gnarled, their leaves the color of old wine and dragonfly wings. Black orchids grow upside down from the branches. A river snakes through the garden, its water thick and silvery, reflecting stars instead of sky. And there he is, the god of the dead, king of shadows, sitting on a stone bench, hunched over a pot of soil like someone trying to coax a cactus to bloom. He's wearing a robe that might have been elegant once, but now has jam stains on the sleeve. You blink. Are you gardening? This is agricultural experimentation. Doesn't even pretend to. "I know," he says, "but I couldn't stop myself." That sounds terrible. It was terrible. There's something about you, something necessary. The world needs you, and so do I. But do you even know if I prefer figs or dates? If I like the rain? If I've ever seen a dolphin up close? Poseidon seduced people in the form of horses. Compared to them, Hades is practically a gentleman. Still, the whole dragging someone into your kingdom without asking part remains a pretty massive red flag. You gesture to the failed pomegranate tree beside him. Is that why you're trying to grow these? If you did choose to stay, I could offer you something from your world, a reminder that life can grow here too. Two extremes. Kind of like you. The silence stretches. Then Hades asks, "Would you like to see the asphodel fields?" Its walls glinting like beetle shells. Wraiths float by, murmuring to themselves. They part for Hades without hesitation, but they look at you, not with fear, not even curiosity. It's something closer to hope. Why do they stare? You ask. "Because you're the first life to touch this place in centuries," he replies. They remember what it felt like to be warm. It's adorable and a little tragic. You sit beneath a weeping willow that seems to drip silver tears. Hades doesn't sit. He stands near you like a shadow that hasn't decided if it's yours yet. Why me? You ask. Hades looks up, brow furrowed. I mean, you continue. You could have had anyone. There are a million nymphs, goddesses, immortals, but none of them make the earth bloom just by stepping near it. None of them change everything around them. The moment you arrived here, the rivers sang louder, the walls warmed, even Cerberus wagged his tail, and he's never liked anyone. A rite of passage or a coded message about power dynamics in ancient society. But there's one theory that stands out. Some say Persephone isn't just a victim. She's a bridge, a balance, a queen because of what she endures. As the souls swirl gently around you, one floats closer. A woman with long white hair and a half-forgotten smile. Spring child, she whispers, you've brought color to the gray. Hades doesn't interrupt. He just stands there, arms crossed, eyes watching something in the distance. Maybe you, maybe something else entirely. Eventually, you rise. You dust your hands on your dress, though there's no dirt, just habit. So what now, you ask? Hades considers. Now, I suppose we live, or at least we try to, and you catch your reflection in the obsidian again. But something's off. Your face is the same, but your eyes, they're darker. Not in a scary way, more like the way deep lakes look in early morning. Quiet, mysterious, maybe a little dangerous. You're becoming something new. Back at the palace, Hecate waits. She's leaning against a column, chewing on what looks suspiciously like ghost peppermint. So, she says without greeting, you've been to the fields. Did you see the soul that juggles spoons? He's getting better. She walks with you through the palace, giving you what can only be described as a sarcastic orientation tour. This is the Hall of Echoes. Don't speak too loud or your gossip comes back a week later. That room? Laundry. Yes, even gods have to wash stuff. No, you can't magic out bloodstains. That's a myth, revealing what might be your new quarters. The bed is enormous, clearly made for someone who doesn't sleep, but wants to look like they do. The sheets shimmer like moonlight, and there are more pillows than you've ever seen outside of a hotel catalog. A bouquet of shadowy flowers sits by the window. You don't recognize any of them. They smell like cinnamon ink and something unplaceably sweet like the memory of a dream. On the table, you find a scroll tied with a crimson ribbon. You open it. It's a letter from Demeter. Her words are sharp, not angry wounded. She tells you she's looking for you, that the earth grows cold without your touch, that the harvests are dying, and even the olive trees are starting to wither. She begs you to come back. You read it twice. Then you set it down carefully. Your chest aches, but not in the way you expect. You miss her, but something inside you doesn't want to leave. Not yet. You're not sure if that makes you heartless or just honest. Here's a tidbit you didn't learn in school. Ancient Greek girls weren't allowed to marry without their father's permission, but they also had little say in who they married. Persephone's tale-your tale wasn't just about abduction. It was a code, a metaphor for how young women were often lost to the underworld of adult responsibility, literally and symbolically. So maybe you think this isn't just about you and Hades. Maybe it's about you and the you used to be. At dinner, yes. Dinner exists in the underworld and is surprisingly tasty. You sit across from Hades. The meal is an odd but charming mix of things. Olives, black bread, figs soaked in honey wine. Nothing steaming hot, but everything seems to glow slightly. He watches you with the kind of patience that unnerves you, not because it's creepy, but because it's genuine. Do you miss it? You ask, breaking the silence. Olympus, the parties, the gossip, the sun? Just that. An acknowledgement, a quiet, unflinching truth. Curious fact. In some lesser-known versions of the myth, Hades does ask Zeus for permission to marry Persephone before the abduction, which is not better, but adds complexity. Was it betrayal or bureaucracy? Historians still debate whether Zeus was complicit, indifferent, or just trying to get through the family reunion without a lightning bolt incident. After dinner, you wander into the gardens again. The failed pomegranate tree is still there, stubbornly refusing to bloom. You kneel beside it, touch the soil. It feels like velvet with a hint of static. You think about your mother, about the golden wheat fields, about laughter and dancing and sunlight slicing through clouds. Then, gently, you press your hand to the root. Something stirs. A tiny bud forms, crimson and glossy, barely the size of a teardrop. Hades, standing behind you, exhales so softly it almost sounds like wind. You look up at him. You said they never take root, but you leave your hand there, letting life hum into the underworld one heartbeat at a time. So maybe this place isn't just made of death. Maybe it's the canvas for what comes after. And maybe you aren't just a stolen girl. Maybe you're becoming a queen. You don't dream that night, not in the traditional sense. Instead, the underworld breathes softly around you, humming in a way that feels like it's listening, or waiting. You wake up before whatever version of dawn exists down here, wrapped in layers of sheets that smell faintly of cedar and something older, maybe myrrh. There's no sunlight, just a silverish haze that filters through the stone windows, like moonlight wearing a disguise. A tray appears by your bed, no footsteps, no knock, just poof toast with fig jam, a cup of something warm that tastes like dandelion and memory, and a small slip of parchment. One word, garden. You already know which one. The pomegranate bud is larger. It's blushing now, pulsing like it's alive. You stare at it for a long time. Then you speak. Grow. Words carry weight. Maybe belief counts for more than power. Behind you, someone claps slowly. Look at you, little goddess of roots and rebellion. Won't stop heartbreak or betrayal, but it's handy for nightmares and unsolicited opinions. Someone very inconvenient. You spend the next few days wandering the palace. The staff, if you can call them, that are quiet shades who move like whispers. They don't bow, they don't chatter, but they seem to respect you. One even leaves a flower on your door, a ghost orchid. It glows faintly at night, like it's dreaming of starlight. You explore libraries with books bound in snakeskin, and rooms that echo your voice 2 seconds too late. You find a corridor that plays music when you walk different notes depending on your footsteps. You dance once, just to see what it sounds like. It sounds like a lullaby. One morning, you walk into the dining hall, and Hades is already there. No crown, just robes the color of thunderclouds, and an expression like he's trying not to look too pleased to see you. He rises. Walk with me. Drink from this, and you forget. He nods. Once it was a mistake, but you don't, because forgetting doesn't feel like healing. Here's a little-known twist. In some myths, Persephone was not a passive victim. In fact, some versions say you chose to eat the pomegranate to anchor yourself in the underworld, because you'd found power here. Autonomy, choice, and those things, once tasted, are hard to abandon. You toss a stone into the river instead. It hisses as it vanishes, like even Lethe respects your decision. When you return to the palace, you find another letter waiting. This one isn't from Demeter. It's from Hermes, written in his sharp, slanted script. It's warm, funny, and loaded with questions. Are you safe? Are you angry? Do they have olives? You snort. Classic Hermes. He ends with, let me know when you're ready to go. I'll come flying cape optional. You don't respond. Not yet. That night, you sit on the edge of your bed, the moonstone charm from Hecate glowing faintly in your palm. You think about the woman in the field, about the juggler, about the root quivering in the dark soil, and you wonder not, for the first time, what exactly you're meant to become. Because you're starting to realize something. This place doesn't just reshape you. It reveals you. You wake up in a mood that smells like cloves and indecision. Something has shifted in the air, like a curtain just lifted, and now you're staring into the next act of a play you didn't audition for. The gardens are waiting. They always are, but today you pass them. Today you walk deeper into the underworld, past the murmuring trees and glowing roots, past a statue that might be watching you, past a chamber of echoing sighs where the ceiling drips water in time with your heartbeat. You find yourself at the entrance of a long hallway. It's lined with mirrors, except, surprise, it's not your reflection in them. Not exactly. In one, you're dressed in armor, a bronze spear at your side, a laurel crown slightly askew. In another, you're older, serene, draped in black and gold robes, eyes glowing faintly like candles burning through mist. And in another, you're laughing, barefoot in the middle of a wild golden wheat field. These aren't visions, they're possibilities. I used to come here when I was unsure, says a voice behind you. It's Hades, of course. The man's timing is borderline theatrical. He walks beside you, hands folded behind his back. This corridor shows not what you are, but what you might become. Time's loose down here. He kept order where chaos wanted to flourish. You keep walking. There's a door at the end of the corridor. Black wood, iron handles shaped like snakes eating their own tails. Hades pauses. You don't have to go in, like something important once happened here, and the room hasn't gotten over it. It's a bedroom, not yours, not his. The bed is covered in vines, brittle and dry, like they grew in desperation and died in regret. On the walls are carvings, names, maybe, symbols. You can't read them. And in the corner, a harp. Hades watches you. This was Mintha's. Before. He doesn't say before you, but you hear it anyway. He crosses the room and picks up the harp. It makes a sad, breathy sound when he brushes the strings. She wanted to be queen, he says softly, but she wanted the crown more than the realm. I planted her by the sticks. Would you want the crown? Not exactly the kidnapped damsel we usually imagine. You run your fingers across the brittle vines. I don't know if I want the crown, you say, but I might want the realm. Just thought you'd like the vibe. You roll your eyes. He's the god of thieves and sarcasm, but that night you dream of a tree with golden fruit and a garden that stretches beyond the underworld. A garden that isn't stolen or inherited, but made by you. Here's a curious tidbit. Historians still debate whether Persephone ever truly left the underworld each year, or if her return to the surface was more of a metaphysical state. Some argue it wasn't about movement at all, but balance, how you could belong to both life and death without betraying either. You wake with that idea heavy in your chest. Maybe you're not a girl caught between two worlds. Maybe you're a bridge. The next morning begins, as all mornings in the underworld do, with a soft glow that isn't sunlight, and a silence that doesn't ask for conversation. You stretch as if you're still mortal and sore from sleep, and wander through the palace until you find yourself outside. The garden is different today. Someone or something has tended to it. The pomegranates have bloomed with stubborn pride, and the narcissus flowers, once wilting, now shine white with a gold tint, like someone poured honey over the petals. The air smells like damp earth and crushed mint. There's a feeling in the garden. You don't have a word for it yet, but it's somewhere between welcome and warning. You bend to touch a sprig of asphodel, and that's when you notice it. Your shadow doesn't quite follow your movements anymore. It hesitates, lags, like it's considering other options. You step left, it steps a little slower. You raise an eyebrow. Rude. Her hair's braided with bones the size of mouse teeth. You know better than to ask. They, you ask? The spirits, the shades, well, you'll come up with your own word for them. I flinch constantly. Apparently. Hecate hands you something, a smooth obsidian coin. It's warm to the touch. What's this for? Some scholars believe she was once a major goddess in her own right before the Olympians dialed her down. Like turning off a lighthouse one bulb at a time, you pocket the coin. Later, as you walk through the palace halls, a scent stops you in your tracks. Not flowers, not sulfur, bread. Freshly baked bread. You follow your nose and stomach until you stumble into a room that looks shockingly normal. A kitchen. There are clay ovens and bronze pans, and someone is humming. A nymph, you think. Younger than you, freckles like splashed milk, hair, and a messy bun. She notices you and nearly drops the tray. Oh, Lady Persephone, miss? Is it miss? Do you have a just Persephone is fine, dead or alive? Whispering stones. You stare at it. It spins faster. Okay, you mutter. You win. And you're still there. Standing. Watching. Your eyes glow. Then it blinks away. You're in the hallway again. Coin gone. And your hand smells faintly of myrrh. Here's something curious. Some ancient texts hint that Persephone didn't just eat pomegranate seeds. Some versions claim she drank an entire goblet of underworld wine, sweet, dark, spiced with dreams, and chose to stay. It's not a popular version, but it lingers. A quiet theory whispered among scholars. You like that version. It feels closer to the truth you're starting to sense in yourself. Later that night you dream again, not of golden apples, this time of a crown, not the bone one, not yet. This one's made of living vines. It blooms as you wear it, and in your dream, someone calls your name not as a question, but as a title. You wake up smiling. The next morning you wake to the sound of soft, rhythmic tapping. It's not urgent, it's not threatening, it's just persistent, like a kid tapping their fingers on a dinner table while waiting for dessert. You open your eyes slowly and find a crow perched at the foot of your bed, its head tilted dramatically sideways like it's judging your life choices, which, to be fair, is valid. Did you knock? You ask it. The crow blinks, then drops a tiny scroll onto the covers and caws once like a dramatic punctuation mark before flying straight through the stone wall. No hole, no breakage, just ghost bird logic. You unroll the scroll. It's a map. More specifically, it's a poorly drawn map of the underworld, complete with unnecessary doodles in the corners. One corner says, "This way to the fields of asphodel. Do not pick the daisies, they whisper insults." You already know who sent it. Of course, Hades would send a map instead of directions like a normal person. The man is allergic to linear communication. You dress not because you care about impressing him, although your hair is cooperating today, but because you're curious. The river he's referring to is the Lethe, if you remember right. The river of forgetfulness. You walk past gardens that shift when you're not looking. Statues whose eyes follow you just a bit too long. You pass a group of shades dancing silently to music only they can hear. One of them, a toga-wearing woman with olive skin and sea-glass eyes, waves as you pass. You wave back, then stop. That was Sappho. Like, The Sappho. Historians agree she was likely exiled in her lifetime, but debate still swirls around the nature of her poetry, her sexuality, and the fate of her later years. Some argue her works were deliberately destroyed. Others say her words live on in thousands of hidden ways. Apparently, the underworld is one of them. You eventually reach the river. It curves gently like a crescent moon. Its waters glassy and dark with silver flecks. You get the feeling that if you stared at it too long, you'd forget your own name. And there he is, leaning against a tree, like he didn't just send you on a mythological scavenger hunt. Brought snacks? He asks. You reach into your pocket and toss him a fig. He catches it easily, bites into it, and gives you a nod of approval. You sit beside him, close but not touching. The space between you buzzes. I wanted to show you something, he says, nodding toward the river. You follow his gaze. At first, there's nothing. Then, beneath the water's surface, something stirs. Shapes. Faces. Memories. You see people, some laughing, some weeping, emerging in and out of visibility. Like dreams half remembered. A child hugging a lost parent. A man offering a ring to a woman who looks surprised. A soldier dropping a sword and embracing his enemy. These are things they let go of, Hades says quietly. When souls drink from the lethe, they surrender pain, yes, but also joy, desire, identity. You understand that, but it still feels heavy. Hades throws the fig pit into the river and watches it sink. Not everyone drinks. Some souls hold on. Some refuse. Others, he shrugs, others drink too deeply. There's more. It'll remind you of things you never knew you forgot. The crunch of olive pits under your sandal. The sound of rain on your 8th birthday. It's disorienting and wonderful and heartbreaking. Your throat tightens. You reach out and touch the wall, grounding yourself. Beside you, Hades places a hand on your shoulder, not possessive, just steady. You lean into it for a moment. 1 heartbeat. 2. Then he pulls back, as if remembering himself. As you exit the cave, blinking in the light, you realize something else. This place is reshaping you, not changing you exactly, just uncovering layers you didn't know you had. You're not just a daughter, not just a goddess. You're something new. You turn to thank Hades, but he's already a few steps ahead, tossing a stone across the lethe. It skips 6 times. Show off. Fun fact. Ancient myths describe the lethe as one of the 5 rivers of the underworld, alongside the Styx, Acheron, Cocytus, and Phlegethon. Some believe that drinking from the lethe was necessary for reincarnation, forgetting past lives to begin anew. And here's a weird one. In certain mystery cults, initiates were told to avoid the lethe entirely, and instead drink from a secret spring called Nemasin to retain their memory in the afterlife. You wonder which cup you'd choose. You don't ask Hades. You think he already knows. Later that night, if you can call it night, when time behaves like a toddler with too much sugar, you sit alone in the garden. Not just a garden, a garden. This one doesn't grow lily or poppies or even your classic underworld willows. No, this garden grows obsidian vines that shimmer like stars and breathe in slow, sleeping pulses. The flowers look like they're made of velvet and dust. And the fruit? They glow. Literally. You're holding one right now. It looks like a pomegranate, but hums softly in your palm, as if it's storing memories or secrets or both. You hesitate. You've heard the stories. Everyone has. The fruit of the underworld is binding. That's the rule, isn't it? Eat it, and part of you stays, forever. No take-backs, no loopholes, no I was just being polite. It tastes like dusk and cinnamon and something older than language. And wow, okay, that's really good. You hear a rustle behind you. It's him again. Of course it's him. Hades walks in holding 2 goblets of dark liquid. I was going to bring wine, he says, but then I thought, why not the blood of poets? Very old. Probably illegal in 3 realms. You both sit beneath a tree with bark like cracked marble. The stars above you are unfamiliar. Not stars at all, really just pinpricks in the ceiling of the world, bleeding light through the seams. I saw your mother today, Hades says, swirling his goblet. Your hand tightens around yours. Oh, she's always angry. You let the taste coat your tongue before responding. She misses control. She misses knowing where I am, what I'm doing, who I'm becoming. I didn't know I had a choice. But also, not wrong. The garden begins to hum softly, in tune with something you can't hear, but can almost feel in your ribs, a kind of quiet frequency. The language of roots and shadows. You know, Hades says, voice casual, some mortals believe the pomegranate was sacred, not because it was sweet, but because it was bitter, pleasure and consequence, life and death. They used to bury their dead with pomegranates as offerings, seeds of return. Then you ask something that's been pressing at your chest since you first arrived. Why me? But it's also a lot. Like someone handing you the crown to a kingdom you haven't decided to rule. You still haven't eaten the seeds, he says after a moment. I'm thinking. Then you'll be more than a goddess of flowers. So probably a lot. Fun historical note. Pomegranates have appeared in burial sites across the ancient Mediterranean, in Egyptian tombs, Greek altars, and even Roman mosaics. They symbolize fertility, death, and the mysterious in-between. Their many seeds made them a natural symbol of abundance and entanglement. Odd fact? Some ancient recipes recommended pomegranate mixed with crushed pearl as an aphrodisiac. Definitely don't try that at home. And about the myth? Scholars argue whether Persephone chose to eat the seeds or was tricked. Some versions say Hades forced her. Others claim she did it knowingly, sealing her own fate. The debate continues. You still haven't taken a bite. Maybe you will. Maybe not. But one thing's clear. Nothing grows in this place unless you choose to plant it. You wake up with a start. Well, not a start, exactly. More of a gentle shift, like a ripple in velvet. Because in the underworld, waking isn't loud. It's not coffee breath and buzzing alarms and deadlines breathing down your neck. It's quieter, more haunting. You open your eyes and find that someone or something has braided your hair with silver threads while you slept. They glitter when you move, catching the blue light that seeps in from nowhere and everywhere at once. You don't remember falling asleep, but your body feels rested, or at least paused. Your room is different today. The walls have rearranged themselves. Yesterday they were adorned with onyx reliefs of gods and monsters mid-conversation. Now they pulse softly with warm light, like living panels. The ceiling's gone, replaced by a sky that looks like deep water dark, shifting, filled with distant, glowing things that blink like sleepy jellyfish. You whisper, "That's not creepy at all." You swear it hears you. Today's itinerary begins when a servant or maybe a spirit appears by the door, cloaked in something that isn't fabric, but moves like it is. They bow without words and gesture for you to follow. You sigh, stretch, and drag yourself upright. Your feet hit the stone floor, which is surprisingly warm. Heated floors in the afterlife? Fancy. You follow your silent guide through halls that weren't there yesterday, past doors that open and close without a sound, until you find yourself standing in a massive amphitheater carved into the side of a dark mountain. The ceiling arches high above, open to the same strange night sky. Rows upon rows of ghostly figures fill the seats, watching not you exactly, but something in your direction. And then you see it. A trial, but not just any trial. It's a judgment. A soul stands before three imposing figures, seated on thrones carved from fossilized bone. Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Aeacus, the judges of the dead. Yep, it's court day in the underworld, and it's intense. The soul trembles, wrapped in wisps of memories that flutter like torn pages. The judges take turns reading from scrolls that unroll themselves mid-air. They ask questions not aloud, but with their eyes, and the soul answers with shudders and flickers of past deeds. You sit spellbound and slightly horrified. One of the judges, Rhadamanthus, you think turns and gestures toward you. A sudden chill crawls up your spine. "Come forward," he says, and somehow you do. You're not sure why. No one makes you. You just walk, because you're not just watching anymore. You're learning. Hades appears beside you like he's been there all along. "They wanted you to see how it works," he murmurs. You ask why. The soul is granted passage to the Elysian fields. A rare reward, judging by the collective sigh from the crowd. The soul floats upward, drawn to a soft light that smells like spring rain and childhood laughter. And just like that, it's over. The judges look at you again. Their gazes are ancient and heavy and full of questions you're not ready to answer. But you nod anyway. You're not here to play princes. You're here to witness. Later, as you and Hades descend the steps of the amphitheater, he tells you about the judges, how they were once mortal kings, chosen for their fairness, bound for eternity to this sacred bureaucracy. Sounds thrilling, you say dryly. He smirks. Imagine spending forever in HR, but someone has to weigh the souls. Otherwise, chaos wins. And the thing about chaos, it loves loopholes. So, probably. But who would judge the judges? Their judgments determined whether souls went to the Elysian fields, heavenish, asphodel meadows, meh, or Tartarus. Very much not meh. Weird fact, some cults believe the judges could be bribed with actual honey cakes. Apparently, even divine bureaucracy has a sweet tooth. Debatable topic. Scholars argue about whether these judges were separate entities or aspects of Hades himself. Some say the division of labor was symbolic, a way to explain the complexity of judgment. Others think it was more like a divine council, with real disagreements and all. You return to your quarters feeling heavier. Not in a bad way, more like your thoughts have put on weight. A good workout for the soul. You glance at the pomegranate again, still uneaten, still glowing, still waiting. You can't sleep, which is ironic considering you're in the land of eternal rest. You lie on your back, eyes tracing the shapes in the dark water sky above your ceiling. Jellyfish stars drift. One of them might be blinking at you, or maybe mocking you. You blink back, just in case. Sleep in the underworld doesn't always come gently. Sometimes it waits for you to digest the day, like your brain refuses to shut down until it's processed every odd conversation, every strange symbol, every flicker of meaning in the shadows. Tonight, the image that won't leave you is the soul being judged. You keep wondering, what if they got it wrong? You throw the covers off. The sheets sigh like they miss you. You wander barefoot through the stone halls. They don't creak. They breathe. The underworld is like a massive beast, exhaling slowly with every torch-lit corridor. It doesn't echo. It listens. And tonight it's listening to you. Eventually, you find Hades. Not because you knew where he'd be, but because some part of the place nudged you there. The palace has a way of opening doors when your questions get too loud. He's standing in front of a mural that wasn't there yesterday. It's haunting. The painting is alive, just barely. Shadows move within it. Persephone's face is in the center, serene and fierce at once, surrounded by images of the world above grain, rivers, deer, and flame. And around the edges, dead leaves, moths, tangled roots, and stars that look dangerously close to falling. I asked them to paint this, Hadges says without turning. The story is important. Even here, he finally glances at you. I'm not, but I do like accuracy. Every one of them looking for an answer no one can give. Spring's coming soon, he says. Your heart jolts. I didn't say anything. What if I did? But the most popular account claimed she ate 6 pomegranate seeds, tying her to the underworld for 6 months of the year. Weird fact, in some ancient traditions, pomegranates were used as fertility symbols and as funerary offerings. The same fruit for birth and death. Talk about versatility. Academic hot take. Scholars still debate whether Persephone eating the seeds was an act of entrapment by Hades or a clever act of agency by Persephone herself. The latter paints her not as a victim but a queen who claimed both realms. I need to see it. You finally say Hades turns toward you fully. See what? And the next moment, you're there, not in a puff of smoke or sparkles, just shifted. Like a dream that changes rooms mid-scene. You're standing at a shoreline, but it's not water that laps at the edge, it's mist. Endless, whispering silver fog. It curls around your ankles and hums in your ears. It smells like ozone and rain on dry stone. This is the edge, Hades says, where the underworld and the living world overlap. A thin place, why your chest feels split. Why your dreams walk both in shadow and sunlight. You belong both below and above, and no one can tell you otherwise. Not even the gods. You return from the border with fog clinging to your hair, your heartbeat still sinking with both the hush of the underworld and the imagined rustle of spring breezes on the surface. It's a strange thing to straddle 2 realms, and even stranger to feel as though you're beginning to accept it. No grand declarations, no celestial light shows. Just you carrying a little mist inside. Back in your chambers, a bowl of fruit waits. Pomegranate. The thing is, it hadn't been there before. You glance at the door, then at the ceiling, half expecting a shadow servant or Hades himself to materialize out of nowhere and say, oops, how did that get there? Women in mythology didn't often get that luxury. They were claimed, gifted, traded like mythic baseball cards. But Persephone, you're something else. A daughter of harvest and destruction. A bringer of life who now knows how to walk among the dead without flinching. You pluck 1 seed. Its skin is taut, perfect. It pops between your teeth. The juice is bitter and sweet at once. It coats your tongue with memories of both love and captivity, belonging and defiance. You eat another and another, until 6 glimmering pits lie in your palm. 6. That number feels final, historic even. You lean back and wait. Nothing explodes. No thunder rumbles, but something in the palace shifts, like it noticed. You go for a walk. This time the halls don't breathe, they whisper. The torchlight flickers in synchronized patterns, almost celebratory, or maybe it's just your mood projecting. Still, it feels different now. You walk with your head higher. You don't flinch at shadows anymore. A corridor leads you, unbidden, to Hades again. He's at his throne, but not sitting. He's pacing, restless. Maybe he sensed the pomegranate moment. You clear your throat. So, hypothetically speaking, that's comforting. You were a lot, Dramatic much? But the myths don't all agree on tone. Some versions say Persephone screamed for help. Others suggest a strange silence. And some, well, hint at curiosity. Curiosity, that's what this whole thing feels like. A long, winding experiment in what-ifs. And now you've tilted the balance. With 6 seeds, you've made it official. You belong here and there, academic aside. Many modern scholars view the 6-month split as symbolic of Persephone's duality. She isn't merely a maiden stolen away. She becomes a seasonal axis, marking the Earth's transition between life and death, a literal bridge between realms. Hades watches you now with possessiveness, but with a kind of hesitant respect. You've made your choice, he says softly. You nod. I'll return with spring. You answer, just as soft. There's a pull inside you, like a tide reversing course. You know it's time. This time, you don't walk to the misty border. You're already there. One breath, one blink, you rise, and the world smells like soil and rain. You're lying in a grove. Trees sway overhead, and the sunlight is warm against your cheeks. For a long time, you just lie there, breathing in color. The living world is loud birds arguing, bees buzzing, leaves rustling like gossipers in a market. You sit up slowly, and the earth sings your name. In Greek, Persephone means something close to bringer of destruction, or she who destroys the light. But it also resonates with growth, transition, and cyclical power. You aren't just a girl who went missing. You are the reason spring returns. And this year you're back by choice. You stretch your arms toward the sky, and it stretches back. Sunlight pours across your skin like a warm bath. The smell of damp earth rises around you, laced with the perfume of wildflowers and something green, unruly like time, that's decided it doesn't care about where it's supposed to grow. The forest breathes with you. Somewhere in the distance a bird calls. A response comes from another, then another, until it feels like the entire sky is chirping in welcome. You walk barefoot across the moss. Each step feels like a reunion. The world remembers you, not as a victim or a missing girl, but as a queen who returns on her own terms. When you reach the edge of the clearing, she's there, Demeter. She doesn't run to you. She doesn't cry out or throw herself into your arms. She stands tall, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. Well, she says, "Hi, Mom," gathering something from the wind. I thought maybe you'd refuse, that you'd come back whole. Eventually you break the hug. You tell her everything, not in one grand monologue, but in pieces, like breadcrumbs dropped on a winding trail. You speak of Hades, of the river Styx and its singing rocks, of the quiet halls and the soft silences between shadows. You tell her about the pomegranate last. She listens. Then she sighs. The earth stopped breathing when you left. I withered. You walk through the woods. With each step, color returns to the world. Tiny sprouts push up through dirt. Trees burst with new leaves, as if they'd been waiting for your signal. The air tastes like new beginnings. A field of poppies greets you. You kneel to run your fingers through them. They giggle in their own language. Demeter watches, her expression unreadable. You've changed, she says finally. So have you. Historians still debate whether this was lost in translation or rewritten later to favor patriarchal ideals. The world keeps changing around you. Crops rise, flowers bloom. You pass through a village where farmers kneel in fields, not realizing you're the reason their seeds sprout. One child runs toward you, hands sticky with honey. She offers you a crushed daisy. You take it like a scepter. Your throne may be of obsidian and shadow, but here you reign in light. Later, at the temple, a ceremony begins. Priestesses in flowing white robes chant your name. They speak of rebirth, of cycles, of the balance between shadow and bloom. They burn incense, and it spirals like the coils of your story, twisting, endless. You sit beside Demeter during the rituals. A woven crown of grain rests on your head. She leans in. I wish I could keep you here. And people dance until their feet forget the difference between sky and ground. You dance too, even with the knowledge that your time above is counted, even with the seeds inside you ticking away like a sacred clock. For now, there is only this moment. The breeze lifts your hair. Laughter rolls across the hills. Flowers bloom in your wake. And for the first time, you understand the power of your presence, not just as daughter or bride or seasonal footnote, but as a bridge between worlds. You're not an accessory in someone else's myth. You're the hinge of the year, the breath between exhale and inhale. Life and death wear your name like a badge, and they wait, each in turn, for you to return. The weeks pass like petals dropping from a flower, slow, soft, inevitable. Each day in the world above, you walk through meadows that remember your footsteps. You watch the trees blossom and bear fruit. The rivers run clearer when you kneel near them. Even the bees seem more organized when you're around, like they don't want to disappoint you. Mortals don't know who you are. Not really, but they sense you. Children give you wildflowers. Old women touch your hand and smile, as if they've seen you in a dream. Animals approach without fear. You don't speak of where you've been, but they feel it. That hush around you, that stillness just under your skin, that scent of midnight in spring. At night, you lie on woven mats beneath the stars, and you dream of vines blooming in moonlight and shadows waiting. One evening, a storm rolls in, fast, violent, as if the sky suddenly remembered it had feelings. You sit under a tree and watch the clouds swirl like dark silk. Thunder booms across the valley, and then he arrives. Hades steps out from the air like it was a curtain. No horses, no chariot, no theatrics, just him, rain in his hair, and quiet in his eyes. You don't say anything. Neither does he. You just stand there, breathing the same damp air, thunder curling between you like a question. Finally, you say, "You didn't come for me." It's not some grand, orchestral swell moment. It's soft, mossy, like returning to something you forgot was home. You pull back. So this is how it works? You remember something Hecate once said, that the underworld doesn't want to hold you. It wants you to want it, and you do. Not only for Hades, but for yourself. You're no longer just Demeter's daughter. You're not just a flower-picking maiden with dirt on her dress. You're a queen, and a woman, and a story no longer whispered, but told. A curious detail. In some Eleusinian mystery rites, initiates were led blindfolded into dark caverns to represent Persephone's descent into the underworld. Only after experiencing symbolic death were they allowed to emerge transformed, reborn. It wasn't about being trapped. It was about becoming something new. Hades offers his hand. Ready? The descent is quieter than the first time. No thunder, no golden chariot, just you walking freely. The world shifts around you, not violently, but like a curtain slowly being drawn aside. You feel it in your bones when the seasons turn. The air goes colder. The light turns sharp and silver. The trees shed their leaves like secrets. And then you are home. The underworld welcomes you. The palace lights flicker brighter when you enter. The walls breathe a little easier. The vines in the garden have grown wild without you, but they bloom when you pass, like loyal pets rushing to greet their keeper. Hecate appears, sipping from a teacup that smells like nightmares and honey. "Took you long enough," she says. You smirk. "Did you miss me?" But Cerberus cried. "But as bracelets, not bindings, adornments. You walk into your throne room and your crown is waiting. Not the woven one of grain and spring. The other one, obsidian, heavy, real. You place it on your head without hesitation. You sit. The shadows settle at your feet like loyal wolves. And for the first time, truly, you feel it. Not half, not torn, not divided, balanced, both, above and below, sunlight and shadow, life and death. Persephone, queen of spring, ruler of the dead. And you know this. When the time comes, you'll return to the surface again, not because you're fleeing the dark, but because you carry it with you. Because wherever you walk, you bring both bloom and decay, and the world needs both to grow. The throne fits differently now. It's not that the seat is more comfortable, or that your posture has changed, though, let's be honest, you've got amazing posture these days. It's that you no longer feel like a guest in your own story. You sit taller, straighter, like the weight of the crown no longer surprises you. Hades enters the room quietly, his footsteps soft against the obsidian floor. He doesn't announce himself. He never really does. You just know he's there. Like a change in pressure, like the chill that dances down your spine when a storm is on the way, or when someone stares too long in a crowded room. "Something's happening," he says, his tone carefully neutral. You arch an eyebrow. "Please be more vague." You pass through the garden, past Cerberus, who's currently chewing what appears to be a haunted femur, and into a hallway you've never seen before, which is impressive, considering you live here now. The hallway leads to a chamber that smells like dust and moonlight, and that's where you see it. A crack, not in the wall but in the air itself. A rift. Pale light bleeds through it, pulsing like a heartbeat. Hecate is already there, her lantern flickering in and out like a tired firefly. "I didn't do this," she says before you can ask. You step closer. The light is warm, not blinding, not hostile, just unfamiliar. It smells like thunder before it breaks. "What is it?" you ask. Hecate glances at Hades. He doesn't answer. She does. It's a breach. Between realms. Between times, maybe. Not quite time, not quite place, but possibility. Portals, rifts, and tears could appear when the balance between life and death got too uneven, like when a queen stayed too long above, or when gods meddled one time too many. You step toward the crack. The closer you get, the more it ends like a lullaby played backwards. "It's trying to open," you say quietly. Hecate nods. "Yes, and if it does, we might not be the only ones with keys to cross." A storm of thoughts between your ears. You stare into a bowl of water, and it stares back. You don't see your reflection. You see a girl in white running through a field. You see a queen in black walking through fire. You see both at once, and then you see something else. A figure with no face, only smoke, standing at the edge of the breach, waiting, watching. When you blink, it's gone. You inhale slowly, let the breath settle in your lungs, then release it like a promise. "I'm not afraid," you whisper, "even if you are, because fear is fine. Fear is human, but you're more than that now." You call for Hecate. She appears with her usual flair, a swirl of shadow, the smell of sage, and burnt sugar. "We need to seal it," you say. She nods, and you're the only one who can. Persephone wasn't just queen of the underworld. She was the mother of the Orphic Dionysus, and therefore held the key to resurrection rebirth, and cosmic cycles. Some called her the all-receiver, the gate, and the guardian. You gather the symbols: a torch from Hecate, a black stone from Hades, a pomegranate seed from your pocket still warm somehow. You press them into the floor before the breach. You speak not a spell. Exactly, just your name, and with it your truth. I am Persephone. One belong above, I rule below. I hold both in equal measure, and I choose the line between them. You're just jealous. No whispering vines, no ghost birds dropping ominous scrolls onto your pillow. Real sleep. The kind that wraps around you like a velvet cocoon where time slips sideways and your breath sinks with something older than dreaming. And in that place you dream of roots, deep ones. They stretch from your fingers into the floor, from your spine into the dark earth, from your crown into a sky that does not belong to either world, but all of them at once. You hear the voices of the dead and the unborn. They are singing your name. When you wake, you feel taller. Not literally. You're not pulling a surprise at a level growth spurt, but your presence, it's taller. You move through the palace and the walls nod in acknowledgement. Cerberus, usually barreling into you like a mythological linebacker, walks beside you now. A guard dog, not protecting you, but with you. And the spirits in the garden, they bow their heads. Even the trees seem to part their branches, as if making way. This is new, and it's about time, because this morning your court assembles. Yes, you have a court now. You didn't appoint them. They simply arrived, drawn by gravity or instinct or the kind of divine memo that doesn't need a paper trail. There's Macaria, calm and solemn as always, standing beside her father's throne, no longer shy around you. There's Melanu, sipping black tea and pretending she's bored while levitating 3 daggers just to make a point. Even Keone is there, with flour on her nose and a tray of what might be haunted croissants. No one asks. They all wait. And Hades, he doesn't sit beside you. He sits slightly beneath you. Not much, just enough to acknowledge something's shifted. And he doesn't mind. You're all wondering why I've gathered you, you say with mock seriousness. Melanu mutters, it's always the drama. It's what we do. A forgotten shelf in the library of existence. No force beyond these walls ever forgets it again. You meet with Hecate under the roots of a tree that wasn't there yesterday. It's huge, pale, ancient, and definitely listening. Hecate runs her hand across the bark. You've stirred things, she says, not just here, above too. They whisper your name now. She was the silent hand beneath the scales, quiet, steady, final. That night, you add something to your crown, not a jewel, a seed, a single pomegranate seed, nestled into a silver clasp, a reminder of your choice, of your power, of your roots. You wear it not just as a symbol of what you've eaten, but what you've planted a life between, not belonging to one world, but to all. It begins with a whisper. Not the poetic kind, but the actual kind, echoing through the halls when no one's there, curling under door frames, tickling ears like a secret too restless to stay hidden. The whispers grow. They come from the walls, the rivers, the roots of the palace itself. You're brushing your hair when it starts in your room, a gentle hush of syllables, spoken in a language you don't quite know, but feel in your chest. Like a lullaby hummed before the world was born. You pause, comb halfway through a braid. I heard that. Hades is waiting in the central chamber. He doesn't pace, but he might as well be. His energy is tightly wound, like a bowstring waiting to snap. They're speaking again, he says before you can. I noticed. You're a queen now. You have meetings. Hecate arrives first, smelling like burnt cloves and old paper. It's waking, she says, skipping all the polite small talk. What is? They show the veil, the stretch of nothingness between realms. Usually it's still. Today it's moving and humming. You place both hands on the table and say, let's name it. You've become more than a queen. You've become an axis, and apparently that role is waking up. You dismiss the council with a nod. They scatter not out of fear, but out of reverence, because they're starting to understand it, too. Not even Hades lingers. You're alone in the throne room, fingers resting on obsidian carved long before your name ever echoed in its halls. And still, the whispers come, not louder, closer. They move from the walls to your skin. Not crawling singing, a song with no melody, only rhythm. Thump, thump, thump. You feel it like a heartbeat under your ribs. The palace tilts. You don't fall. You stand. In a blink, you're not in the palace anymore. You're in a field. Not the one where you were taken. A different one. This one is gray, silent, frozen in dusk. And standing in the center, you. Not a mirror. Not a memory. Another you. She wears white, untouched by shadow. She has flowers in her hair and dirt on her knees. She blinks at you like you've startled her. And then you realize this is the version of you who never left, never ate the seeds, never ruled the dead. Just a daughter, just a maiden, just spring. She steps toward you. You don't flinch. You meet her halfway, and for a moment, the two of you stand inches apart, same eyes, same breath, same story, split at the stem. I'm not gone, she says. I know, you whisper. You live in me. The torches burn brighter. You look at your reflection in the polished floor. You're not just the queen of the dead. You are the queen of the cycle. The maiden lives in you. The queen walks with you. The shadow bows to you. You are Persephone, bringer of balance, breaker of binaries. And the whispers, they aren't warnings. They are welcomes. They're the world adjusting to your name. The next morning, something peculiar happens. A knock, not a ghost's knock. Not the polite breeze of a spectral messenger brushing a door. An actual knock, firm, deliberate, mortal. You raise an eyebrow. Who knocks, draped in travel-dusted robes? Wings, sandals scuffed, curls disheveled like he just wrestled a thundercloud. Hey, he says, leaning on the door frame like he's not technically breaking every protocol. You stare at him. He offers a sheepish shrug. Missed me? Time's a polite suggestion to me. He's arrived for a reason. You've felt it, haven't you? He says finally, dropping the casual act like a coat. You nod. Something's shifting. Watching. They are hands that have buried seeds and crowned the dead. They will be disappointed, you say flatly. Hermes smirks. That's kind of your brand. But whoever it is won't come offering olive branches. You've changed. You walk back to the throne. Your crown is waiting, but you don't put it on yet. Instead, you sit. You listen, because the underworld has gone quiet. Not empty, attentive, waiting for your command. Later, Hecate joins you without invitation. That's her style. She sits cross-legged on the floor, lantern on her lap. They're afraid of you. They should be. Academic aside. Some versions of the Persephone myth end with her permanently splitting her year, half above and half below. But others suggest she eventually chose the underworld full time, becoming something new, a chthonic power, who wasn't born in death, but built herself there. That version, it feels closer now, because deep down you know this. You are a pillar of this world. And when the gods come, it doesn't brighten exactly, it glows. like someone pulled aside the veil just enough for the sun to peek in and say, "Hey, I'm still watching," eyes sharp enough to flay thoughts. Apollo, shirtless obviously, bow slung across his back like it's decorative. His skin radiates that annoying solar confidence. You fold your arms. Is this a diplomatic visit or a photo shoot? And suddenly it's a crisis. To us, the kind that feels like flint and steel. And then the doors open behind you. Hades enters. No armor, no throne-walking energy, just him, present, calm, but watchful. Apollo stiffens, but Athena doesn't move. She watches Hades the way you'd watch a storm on the horizon acknowledging its potential, but not running yet. "We came to speak to her," Athena says. Hades raises an eyebrow, and now you have. Then come prepared. It feels like returning to the meadow, the beginning, except this time you're the one emerging from below. Fun historical nugget. In rare depictions, Persephone is shown not as abducted but as returning by choice, her face calm, her steps deliberate. Some ancient artists even drew her leading others out of the underworld, guiding souls, not just receiving them. She was more than a seasonal symbol. She was a threshold goddess, a guide, a force. That's the version you feel in your bones now. Later that night, you meet Hecate by the river Styx. She hands you a vial of something glowing and sharp. "What is it?" you ask, just in case. Cerberus watches you as you walk the halls one last time before you leave. He nudges your hand, whines softly. You scratch behind his left ear. "I'll be back soon." It's an arrival. You're not the same girl who was dragged screaming into the dark. You are the dark now, and the light, and everything between. Olympus smells like ambition, and nectar, and freshly polished marble, as if the gods collectively decided to scrub the heavens right before your visit. You emerge into a corridor lined with statues of the pantheon, immaculate, heroic, oddly self-congratulatory. The kind of hallway that says you're lucky to be here, even before anyone speaks. You walk slowly, deliberately, because you're not here to rush. You're here to be seen. As you step into the hall of council, every eye turns to you. There are no trumpets, no heralds, just your footsteps echoing off the divine stone like thunder wearing silk. Zeus sits on his throne in the center, lightning coiled in his fingers like a habit he can't break. Hera sits beside him, regal and unreadable. Poseidon lounges nearby, dripping seaweed and ego. Athena and Apollo are already in their places. Ares, of course, is sharpening something. Artemis watches from the shadows. And Aphrodite, she smirks as if this whole thing is a fashion show. And you're the finale. You stop at the center. They look at you, but it takes a moment for them to realize you're not waiting. Zeus speaks first. "Persephone, welcome home. Expansion of your influence. Hierarchies. Or the fact that I didn't ask permission to become it." Thick, charged. And then Hera speaks. She's not wrong, stretching lazily. "Besides, chaos's very own trend. Let the mortals pray where they find comfort. I already have one. Just the quiet hum of power recognizing its newest equal." Later, as you walk through the halls of Olympus, Aphrodite appears at your side. "You shook the room," she says. "I tend to." And they knew better than to take it back. You descend from Olympus under your own power. No golden chariot, no winged guides, no godly escort try to smooth the tension with forced conversation. Just you. You don't fall, and you don't drift. You walk through layers of cloud, through currents of time, through memory. And when your feet touch the ground again, It isn't with fanfare. It's with roots. The underworld greets you like a long-lost home, not with celebration, but with stillness, a reverent hush, like the moment before a seed cracks open, the moment before change. Cerberus meets you first. He doesn't charge this time. He kneels. All three heads bow low. You place a hand on his shoulder. Good boy. The palace is quieter than you left it. Not lifeless waiting, the kind of quiet that speaks of something held in breath. A court paused. Macaria is the first to step into view, then Melanu, then Chione, still dusted with flour, still clutching a tray of something that smells like cinnamon and something you shouldn't ask about. They all stand. You walk between them. You pass the garden. The vines have grown. They arch above the path like ribs or wings. Inside the throne room, Hades stands by your seat, not in it. When you enter, he steps aside without a word. The throne is obsidian still, carved from old stone and older intent. But there's something new, a second seat beside it. Different, slimmer, woven of stone and root. Alive, you don't question it. You sit, and it accepts you. Hades remains standing. His posture is proud, but not possessive. Everything is shifting, he says. You nod. It's supposed to. Fun historical twist. Some late-period Orphic hymns depict Hades and Persephone not as ruler and captive, but as co-rulers, partners, dual aspects of divine justice. He rules the silence. She rules the return. Together they form the engine of mythic time. You understand that now. You're not ruling beside him. You're ruling with him, not in shadow, but in fullness. At night, you visit the roots of the Styx. Alone, you walk past the whispering rocks, past the fields of asphodel, now blooming with ghost lily. You carry nothing with you except a seed. Just one. You plant it by the river. You press your palm into the earth. Whisper something only the dead understand. And when you rise, the seed is already sprouting. It glows faintly in the dark. Behind you, a voice. Is that symbolic? One leaf floats by. Then another, and you remember how once, long ago, you were just a girl in a field, curious, unprepared, plucked from sunlight like a petal. But now you are the hand that plucks, the root that grows, the balance no one can deny. You begin to write, not with ink and parchment, though there's plenty of that if you want it, but with action, presence, pattern. The story of your reign is no longer something whispered by poets or carved into amphorae by men who never met you. You write it in the turning of the seasons, in the way the vines bloom faster when you pass, in the way the dead stand taller when they speak to you. You establish new rites in the underworld, not grand rituals of flame and sacrifice, but subtler things. A moment of silence before the judgment of souls. A festival of memory, where the dead are offered flowers and laughter instead of mourning. A rule. No name is forgotten if it is spoken aloud, and they begin to speak. At first, a few shades, then dozens, then more. Names that hadn't been heard in centuries. Mothers, warriors, midwives, thieves, scribes, children. You sit in a circle and listen, really listen. And the underworld breathes easier for it. The living start to notice. On the surface, spring arrives stronger, more vibrant. Crops rise taller. Flowers bloom faster. Children are born with hearts full of strange old wisdom. Some say they dream of a woman with dark hair and a crown of vines who walks beside them and smiles. Some say she brings the rain early, just because she feels generous. You don't deny it. Why would you? In a temple in Thebes, a group of women begins a new rite. They carry black seeds in one hand and golden grain in the other. They chant your name not as a plea, but as recognition. Persephone, you. Above, Demeter watches in silence. You can feel her, not angry anymore, just adjusting. She sends no message. But one day, you find a single stalk of wheat placed gently at the edge of your garden. You nod, not forgiveness, but understanding. Meanwhile, in your court, things evolve. Melanu starts a library of unsolved ghost stories. Macaria begins training the newly dead in dream guarding. Keone finally opens her bakery to the spirits. And Cerberus? Cerberus learns how to sit on command. Sort of. One night, Hades finds you outside your chambers, lying on the stone floor and staring at the stars, not the sky stars, but the ones carved into the ceiling by some ancient hand. You never sleep anymore, he says. I don't need to, you reply. I dream wide awake now. Here's something strange. In parts of Sicily, where Persephone worship once flourished, locals still bake round loaves filled with pomegranate seeds during certain festivals. They don't always remember why, but they do it. Tradition, they say. But you know the truth. That's the echo of your story. A story not ending, but cycling. You whisper to the ceiling, I am not a myth. No divine visitors flaring with accusations or golden light. Just change, like frost softening into dew. The kind of transformation you only notice when you've been watching long enough to feel the rhythm. You've learned to listen for it now. It begins in the dreams, not yours, theirs. The dead begin to murmur of things they've never seen. Places that don't exist in the underworld lush fields. Endless starlight, voices singing songs no tongue remembers. You walk among them, asking questions, gathering fragments. Some claim they see futures, others pasts. A few say they see you, but different. Always different. In one dream, you're winged. In another, you're stone. In another still, you're a river. You collect the stories and sit with them like seeds in your palm. And you wait. Hecate is the first to notice. There's a leak, she says one evening. Lantern blowing an uncomfortable shade of violet. You glance up from the dream scrolls. Where? I don't remember this. You pass shelves that whisper. Scrolls that pulse with your heartbeat. Statues that look a little too much like people you used to know. You find the book. Your book, bound in bark, stitched with gold thread. You open it. The first pages glow, steady and true. Maiden, queen, root, flame. But halfway through the words smear, blur, melt. Something is trying to rewrite you. You grip the book tight, and for a moment the whole underworld seems to hold its breath. You call the court. This time, not just your inner circle. Everyone, shades, judges, guides, even the quiet ones who never speak. They gather. It takes time, but time here is yours to command. You step up to the obsidian platform and hold the book high. They are trying to undo what we've built, but they forget. You say, voice rising, this realm does not belong to them. It belongs to us. Letters shine. Some words sing, because history doesn't belong to those who witnessed it. It belongs to those who remember it. Fun twist from the real world. A few ancient mystery cults believe that each soul carried its own myth, that the story of your life became your afterlife. If no one remembered your name, you dissolved. But if your story endured, so did you. So you ensure they're remembered. All of them, even the messy ones, even the small ones, especially the small ones, because those are the ones Olympus forgets first. Afterward, you sit beneath your favorite tree, the one that bloomed the night you chose to stay. Hades joins you. He doesn't ask what happened. He knows. He just says you look tired. Good. It suits you. Something older. You feel it like a ripple through the soil, like thunder rolling in reverse from below, not above. And when you open the door, not a literal door, but the kind that only queens of realms and guardians of boundaries can feel, you find her standing there. Nyx, night, personified, not the absence of light, the substance of shadow. She's wrapped in it, wears it like a gown spun from sleeping galaxies. You stare. She nods imperceptibly. It's time. It leads to a place even the gods pretend not to see. The source, not of life, of cycles. Only 3 gods have ever stood there. Now it's your turn. You don't hesitate. Hades appears at your side. He doesn't try to stop you, just slips something into your hand. A single obsidian ring. To remember where you rose from, he says. Macaria gives you a blade made of silence. Melanu, a lantern filled with doubt. Hecate, of course, gives you nothing. You already have what you need, she says, and vanishes in a puff of sass and sage. You step onto the path. With each footfall, your name feels larger, not louder, deeper. You hear whispers not to you, but about you. She made her own roots, not like any you've seen before. It grows backward, roots in the sky, branches in the earth. It hums, and from it dangles a fruit, black as ink, glowing faintly at its core. You reach for it. The taste is indescribable. Honey, thunder, memory, rebellion. It fills your mouth, your mind, your myth, and then the realm listens with a stillness that is awe, not obligation. I am Persephone, you say, not declaring, claiming. I am not the taken, the root and the bloom. It rises from the ground like heat after rain. It hums in your bones, echoes in your teeth, curls behind your ears. It sounds like roots twisting, like riverbeds shifting, like language before it was speech. You step into the garden barefoot, because that feels right. The vines have shifted overnight. They form arches now, doorways, some open to places you know, the throne room, the riverbanks, the library of forgotten names. Others don't. One door shows stars you've never mapped. Another whispers in a dialect no living tongue remembers. One just breathes. You don't open them. Yet, instead, you walk to the new tree, the one with white bark and black fruit, the one born of your visit to the source. A shade waits beneath it, thin, gray, flickering. You kneel beside them. They don't speak. They don't need to. You press your palm to theirs, and they steady. For just a moment, they become solid, real. Remembered, that's the key. Memory doesn't just preserve, it builds. You rise and the shade vanishes not in fear, but fulfillment. Another one waits nearby, and another. You spend hours like this, days, weeks, you lose count, because this is what it means to be queen of the dead, not just to reign, but to remember, and to teach others how. Macaria begins to write a new ledger, not of judgment, but of stories. Every soul, no matter how small or strange, gets a page, gets a place. Melanu adds a page for herself. It reads, I am the echo that teaches you to listen. The bees. And oddly, yes, but not because you left something behind, because you planted something there, too. I'll go soon, you say. When the cycle calls me, you're terrifying. You guide with hands that plant, with words that bloom, with silence that remembers, and the dead, they don't just follow, they grow. You sit beneath your tree as a new shade arrives, small, young, confused. They ask, am I gone? Not by boat, by breath. It slips in on the windless air, curled like vapor above the waters of Lethe, a wisp of memory that refuses to forget. You reach out and it winds around your wrist like silk with secrets. You know who sent it before it even forms into words. Demeter. It's not a summons, not a threat. It's an invitation to a place neither of you have named in centuries. The old field, the one where the story began. The meadow, the place of picking flowers and losing everything. The place of becoming. You leave at once. No fanfare, no court. Just yourself. And Cerberus, who follows anyway, you don't stop him. The surface is different. You haven't been gone long, but seasons move strangely when you hold the strings. Mortals look up when you pass. Some recognize you. Most just feel it like goosebumps or gravity, or that sudden moment when the room hushes, and no one knows why. You arrive at the field at twilight. Of course it's twilight. Demeter is already there, older than you remember, not in body, but in grief. She wears it like frost. She doesn't smile. Neither do you. There's too much between you for that. But she nods. That's enough. You walk together through the tall grass. Neither of you speak at first. The wind does the talking, stirring memories, brushing your ankles, parting wildflowers in your wake. After a while, Demeter says, "It bloomed again. It's there gnarled and beautiful, half in shadow, half in gold. The fruit glows softly, like small hearts waiting to be claimed. I never cut it down," she says. "I know. You expected me to stay soft." The grass brightens around your fingers. "I am the scent of spring." You glance back once. Demeter remains in the flowers, watching the wind. You let her grieve, let her remember, let her learn, because you are not what she lost. You are what you chose to become, and no myth can rewrite that. You return to the underworld at nightfall, though time bends less like a clock and more like a ribbon in your hands these days. The realm accepts you back with a soft sigh of roots recognizing footsteps. The torches do not flare. The walls do not shift. Instead, everything remains still, as if listening, as if sensing something inside you has settled. You walk the familiar halls alone. No one interrupts. Even Cerberus, usually eager to greet you, simply lies by the entrance, his eyes half-lidded in understanding. You've returned changed. Not heavier, not broken, just deeper. In the throne room, the obsidian feels warmer than usual. Not molten, just aware. The throne welcomes you not as a seat of power, but as an extension of your body. You sit, not to rule, not to command, just to be, and that is enough. Around you, the court breathes as one. Melinu sketches circles into the floor with her finger. Macaria closes a book without looking at the page. Chione leans against a wall, flower on her cheek. None of them speak. You feel them waiting. Finally, you say, "We are not forgotten," nor to win its approval. You're building something different, something layered and living, something that outlasts. That's the real threat. That's the real power. Later that night, you walk the fields beyond the sticks. You do this more often. Now, the shades no longer tremble when you pass. They reach out, touch your sleeve, offer names and pieces of stories. You remember every single one. Some tell you how they died. Some tell you how they lived. One old woman tells you about her cat. You cry quietly. In the distance, a star falls, not from the sky, from beneath it. You watch it drift downward toward the center of the realm, where the soil is thick with memory and bone. When it lands, a single vine bursts from the ground and coils upward, blooming in an instant. A flower with 7 petals, each one a different shade of shadow. You walk to it and kneel. This wasn't part of any ritual. No prophecy predicted it. No prayer summoned it. It is a gift from the realm itself. You do not pluck it. You bow to it, because even queens know when to kneel. When you rise, the petals close slowly, sealing something inside. A seed, maybe, or a promise. You don't ask which. Some things are meant to grow without knowing. Back in your chambers, you sit at your mirror. You haven't done this in a while. Looked. Not really. Your face is the same, and not. Your eyes hold centuries. Your mouth carries myths. Your skin reflects both moonlight and memory. You reach for your crown and pause. You don't need it tonight. You're more than the symbol now. You are the source. You are the story. And for the first time, that feels like enough. It begins with a whisper. Not from the dead, not from Olympus, not even from within yourself, but from the space between. The silence you've come to cherish. The breath that hovers after a name is spoken, and before it is remembered. It stirs in your garden first. The vines tremble ever so slightly, as though a breeze from a place that doesn't exist has passed through. Then the fruit darkens, not with rot, but with depth, as if it now holds more truth than before. You stand at the edge of the garden and listen. There is no wind, no sound, just the subtle sensation of something shifting, a presence not malevolent, not divine, simply ancient, older than Olympus, older than death, the thing that existed before memory had shape. You close your eyes and breathe it in. The scent is like ash and violets, familiar, distant. You recognize it in the same way you recognize a dream long after waking. Later, you meet Hecate near the gate to the forgotten corridors. She doesn't speak at first, just looks at you with that half-smile that always means she knows more than she'll say. They're stirring, she murmurs. Not the gods, the others. The ground grows soft. Voices rise not in language, but in longing. They aren't calling to you, not yet, but they will. Hecate leaves you at the edge of the path. Not all power is meant to be wielded, she warns. Some is simply meant to be held. You nod. You understand. You've been holding the impossible for a long time now. That night, you return to the tree, the one born of the source. It's grown again. Now its branches touch the ceiling of the realm, scratching at the roof of the underworld as though trying to remind the heavens that this place lives. You sit beneath it and begin to write. Not in a book, not on a scroll, just with your voice, softly. Names, moments, truths. You speak of Eurydice, and how her silence was louder than any song. You speak of Sisyphus, and how endurance is sometimes mistaken for punishment. You speak of yourself, and how queens are made, not born. From the shadows, someone listens, a child, no name, no memory, just presence. You look at them and say, "Would you like to help me write?" They nod. You hand them a fragment of a story. They don't ask whose. They just begin to add to it. The court gathers slowly, wordless. One by one, they bring pieces of themselves. A lock of hair, a broken comb, a song. They place them at the roots of the tree. The offerings disappear, but the branches bloom. You realize then, this is not a tree. It is a record, a living myth, fed by memory. You look up and see the faces of those who were forgotten etched in the bark, glowing faintly, smiling, waiting. You press your hand to the trunk and whisper, "You are not lost." It happens not with thunder, but with quiet. You wake in the middle of the night, though in your realm time no longer cleaves so cleanly, and you feel it. Not fear, not urgency, just stillness. The kind that precedes something sacred. You rise without speaking. Even Cerberus doesn't stir. The torches hum faintly on the walls, but their flames don't flicker. As you walk through the corridor toward the garden, the stones beneath your feet feel warm, like breath trapped in memory. The tree has changed again. You knew it would. Its branches now stretch across the ceiling like constellations turned inward. New fruit grows among the old, smaller, delicate, glowing with unfamiliar colors. Some pulse, others hum. They aren't meant to be eaten. They're meant to be remembered. You step into the garden barefoot again. You've taken to doing that lately. Something about feeling the soil, feeling the realm, grounding yourself in the place you built. The shades gather. They do so without ceremony. No one called them, but they come. Hundreds, thousands, all shapes, all times. They stand beneath the tree in absolute silence, not waiting, not demanding, just being. You raise your hand and begin, not with a speech, not with command, but with a story, soft, slow, gentle. A memory from a girl in the market who sang to her tomatoes before selling them. A man who carved wooden horses for children who had never seen a battlefield. A mother who carried a secret for 40 years so her daughter wouldn't have to. Tiny stories, forgettable to gods, unforgettable to you. And as you speak, the tree listens. It blooms. Every petal that opens becomes a lantern. Every lantern a beacon. And the sky above, if you can call it a sky, begins to shift. Not to light, not to shadow, but to something between. Balance. You look around and realize Hades is standing nearby. He says nothing, just watches, the way he always does. But now there's pride in it. Not the kind that towers. The kind that understands. You nod once. He returns it. This moment is yours. The chord arrives slowly. Hecate first, of course, smirking like she knew this would happen all along. Macaria brings her ledger. Melinu carries a handful of pebbles, each carved with a name. Chione passes out warm bread to the shades. No one eats, but the gesture matters. You turn back to the tree. You say this realm is not an ending, not spoken by others, not carved by poets, but your own. You take it, hold it, become it. The sky shifts again. The stars swirl, not in chaos, but in rhythm. A new constellation draws itself in the dark. A crown, a branch, a flame. You smile, because you're no longer just Persephone. You are keeper of names. You are queen of memory. You are the story that keeps writing. And you are home. And now the realm is quiet again. Not the silence of endings, the hush of completion. The garden sleeps, its petals folded inward like hands at rest. The shades have drifted back to their corners of peace, carrying with them the warmth of being seen, of being remembered. Even the tree no longer glows. It simply exists, steady and present, like a heartbeat beneath the soil. You sit beneath it once more, your back against its trunk, eyes half closed. The cool earth supports you. The soft breeze brushes over your skin, like the exhale of something greater than time. There is no throne here, no crown, just the hum of a world held gently in your hands. Hades is somewhere nearby, not needing to speak. The others are near to Macaria's quiet footsteps in the dust, Melinu's breathy laughter far off in the corridors. Cerberus snores softly, one head dreaming, the others listening. And you do nothing, because here at last you can. No demands, no titles, no burdens, just the feeling of being. You trace your fingers through the grass. The underworld hums back, not as a place of sorrow, but of belonging. You are safe. You are whole. You are home. So now, let your own eyes close. Let your breath fall into rhythm with the realm. Let the soft, dark wrap around you, not to hide, but to cradle. You are not lost. You are not alone. You are starlight now, soft and far and free.